Hey, how's it going?
Indeed. Welcome, Internet. This is Scuttlebutt. I believe this is episode 9.
9.
And it's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute because,
Been a long time since I rapped at you.
Yes. Yes. Last record was back in October. And then the nation elected Trump. And then I got really sick. And then we had Thanksgiving. And then December showed up like, what up, bitches? Hello. That kind of snuck up on me. And yeah.
Everything since the election's just been kind of a haze for me. It's like, just wandering around in a blizzard.
Agreed. Well, speaking of haze, let us open up with our hazy intro music.
Oh, we're going to get double struck. We've got unlicensed music and video from a movie. I approve.
Good. I'm glad you do. And this is even worse. This is a little bit of a rope-a-dope because we're not actually talking about this movie.
No. But I mean, is there anything more to be said about Big Lebowski anyway?
That's true. I think it's all been said.
It's up there with like Fight Club. There's enough discourse. We're good. But yeah, this song really sets the mood for what we'll be talking about today.
That's the plan. Hey, it's Saddam.
The Saddam look-alike. What a great thing to have on your resume. What are your special skills? Well, hold on, let me get the hat. Oh, there we go.
Beautiful. Yes, what we're hoping to talk about today is comfort media, which I think The Big Lebowski is a movie that is comfort media for quite a lot of people. I think we're all feeling a little shook, and we're all feeling just like, a certain amount of anxiety. What's the future going to look like? What's going on? It's not necessarily just politics. It's a lot of stuff. And so I threw the question at Max to help. We're going to share our lists of our comfort media, which could be anything. It could be movies, a bitchin' album, a video game, an activity, but just something maybe a little narrative oriented that is like a soother, a calmer, a thing that you've had a shitty day, you go home and you're like, I'm just going to put something on and maybe zone out to. And you don't want to take the time to find something new and interesting. You're going to be like, this is a thing that puts me at peace and speaks to me or whatever. I think we've all got those. I think it's worth exploring them and owning them and not being ashamed of them and appreciating them, even if it's just sort of dumb and weird. And so I just wanted to maybe, chit chat about the things that give us peace.
I think you and I are both the kind of people that, on one hand, we are pop culture obsessives.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, we are also compulsive list makers and organizers. So stuff like this, right up my alley, of course. It's like, here's a list of, you get to make your own listicle of stuff that distracts you from the ongoing horror show around you. It's like, perfect. Sign me up.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I think we'll just kind of go through these one by one, trade them off back and forth, chat a little bit about why they bring peace, ask questions about it if it's whoa, I would not have expected that. And I'm hoping for a few kind of left fielders that I've never even thought of as being soothing, and I kind of want to hear about it. And I'm sure we'll have some pretty standard middle-aged white dude faves that are just oh yeah, this is great, and here's why. Maybe we'll see. You want to start? Should I start, or should we Rochambeau?
Go ahead and start.
Okay.
I want to see what you've got in the pipeline.
Yeah. So I put together a little bit of a tier list here, and then immediately lost it.
I guess I kind of made my list in ascending order of how desperate I am.
Yeah.
Like by the end of it, it's like the knife is to my wrist. What do I put on?
100%.
Yeah.
All right, first thing on my list. And I'm just gonna grab a quick thumbnail and add it onto. There it is. Bam.
Aha.
So I did not watch the Frasier sitcom back in the 90s. Like, I mean, I knew about it and I like occasionally watched little bits of it, and I'd be all, and you know, like my stepdad was a huge fan of Cheers.
Yeah.
And so like I like knew I'd watch some of those with him and stuff. And it just seemed like dumb middle-aged comedy about, like, you know, arrogant professionals, which has never spoken to me. But man, I started getting stoned like about like the 2 years ago through a certain amount of like therapy, and started watching Frasier sitcoms just out of like a pure curiosity. Like, I'm just like, this is a thing I would never be into, and I'm kind of surprised. Uh, and they are such brilliantly constructed little character vignettes.
Yeah.
That I found myself like sort of awestruck by a certain kind of, I almost want to endanger being too flowery, like a kind of like cozy poetry of these nebbish inflated intellectuals.
Yeah.
And maybe just based on the way that I just said that, like there's clearly a part of me that like is trying to live the nebbish intellectual dream. And
every time you point a finger, 3 are pointing back at you.
hell yeah. And like, and they are such charming, dumb little stories of I don't know, Frasier and his loser family and friends. That I get the giggles and I love it. Like it brings me peace. It's so strange. It's not who I think of myself as myself, which is maybe why I put it like as the first thing, because it was like a little bit like this kind of surprised me as much as I figured it would surprise people that know me.
Have you gone back to watch any Cheers?
Yes, yeah, like after I started kind of getting into this, and actually I think I may have come to Frasier from Cheers. I did a whole rewatch of like all Cheers, like literally 9 seasons, is it, of Cheers, and it was good, but it was very much of its time.
Yeah,
it was very very romantic, I would say. Like it was very built on the relationship between Diane and
every show back then had to
yeah,
have a will they or
yeah,
won't
it was
they.
all like built
Yeah.
around kind of like this relationship
Moonlighting. Yeah.
and leaning a little anti-romantic. I was just like, oh, okay, but also like the comedy was great. The idea of like these dumbasses living in a bar and hanging out, like it was a lot of fun. I think, you know, Always Sunny probably satisfies like the losers hanging out in a bar so much better than Cheers to some extent, but
Yeah,
Frasier is
it shows a more realistic side of it, perhaps. You know,
exactly, yeah,
very, you know, the kind of people that, you know, are in a bar every day are probably a little more marginal than the guest cast of Cheers. But what a stacked cast that was of just,
oh, God.
I mean, some of the best character actors, you know, of all time, and then you've got like Woody Harrelson, it's just like one of the best actors of his generation, and he's just like this goofy farm boy on the show. It's really kind of wild when you go back and watch some of these people and knowing where they are 30 years on.
Man, I did have a crush on Kirstie Alley. Like, I remember, like, that husky voice did something to young male Kirin that was a little bit challenging. But it's funny because like Frasier's dad shows up on Cheers as like a shoe salesman at one point.
Oh.
Like there's they didn't really care about continuity or anything.
Nah.
Anyway, Cheers is great. Frasier, I would say, is even better. I have not watched the new one. I have no idea. Yeah. There is there's something delightfully gay about Frasier. There's something delightfully PJ Wodehouse kind of social crafted gosh, it's
I mean, Frasier and Niles are so gay coded. It's really wild. They're supposed to be brothers,
and they poke so much fun at that.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's very Oscar Wildean in ways as not someone who's terribly familiar with Oscar Wilde or whatever could access. Like it is compact, tight little tales of nebbish foibles of upper classish folks that just it's charming as hell.
They had one of the funniest things I've ever seen was on that show, and it's something I have it like whatever, it's on Hulu or whatever. I think I've had it queued up to that cold open for years now. It's there's an episode, it was a cold open where I believe Niles is going to have a dinner party at Frasier's apartment, and it's wordless. It's just him going about, setting stuff up. And at some point he like cuts himself, he cuts his hand, like cutting something, looks at it, faints from the blood, comes to, it's just like this cascading series of failures. It's one of the, like I said, it's a wordless, 4 or 5 minute thing of just, he gets back up and starts trying to do something, and looks down at his hand, faints again. It goes on like 3 times. It's, there's like causing a fire in the kitchen or something. It's this beautiful little Mr. Bean thing going on. One of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's a legacy of like, I think, Monsieur Hulot, like French comedy, like kind of social stuff there that I think this reinvented really wonderfully. Anyway, I think we've talked enough about it.
They don't need our money.
No, I want to hear about your first one, which I think I've got loaded up. Maybe I will just share to it and you tell me if this is it.
Yes. So, I've recently gotten into Amyl and the Sniffers. There we go. And this is a band I'd heard of for years, mostly just knew because they had an awesome name. I didn't know anything about their music. And at some point, the YouTube algorithm fed me this video. And I thought, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. First of all, it's got the Circus Liquors clown guy from LA. I love that. And it scratches so many of my itches. It's like kind of old school punk. It's got, especially their new album's got this, this is their 3rd album this song is from. And I just love this guy. Stephen Ogg, great character actor. I don't know what he's doing in this video, but it's amazing. But they've gone from like just very like hardcore punk to doing a little more instrumentation on their new album, a little like groovier. And
look at him go.
It's just, this is such a great video. I mean, I'll watch this like every day for a week, because you turn it on, you instantly start smiling. She's just amazing. And everybody in the band, like they've got crazy, like, you know, the drummer's got a skullet. You know, they're aggressively Australian. I've learned more Australian slang from watching. It's fucking. You can't not smile watching this. But yeah, their new album is fantastic. Their old stuff is great too, but it's their new album. I think it's Cartoon Violence, I think it's called. Oh, this is the best part.
Oh, sorry for pausing. Oh yeah, it is.
Come on. But yeah, they're my favorite new band. They're such a find. I'm so happy that, you know, the algorithm fed me this.
Yeah, no, their energy is amazing. Her vibes are impeccable.
Oh, it's great. And if you go back to her previous albums, this is pretty much her, you know, hot pants and like a bikini top. That's all she ever wears.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just fantastic. Any idea where they filmed this part here? And this is all over LA.
Yeah. I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I'm
You're
not
out of your
an LA
club,
seamster. Yeah, it's been 15 years.
You're breaking my heart, man.
Sorry, Chief.
All right. Yeah, we can probably cut this now before we start getting slapped with a lawsuit. But yeah, Amyl and the Sniffers, they're fan-freaking-tastic. And
love it.
Musically, just what I needed right now.
Cool.
And that song is called "You Should Not Be Doing That." It's great. They also have another great video called "Big Dreams," which they did with. They're just kind of blasting across like Joshua Tree on motorcycles, and the whole thing was done with a drone shot. So it's one long continuous shot, like going like back and forth from. It was really a pretty trippy video. Beautifully shot too, if you're a big Joshua Tree fan like I am.
Yeah, that's right. You come from kind of U2 fandom to some extent, right?
I'm sorry?
I was just thinking about U2 being sort of inspired by Joshua Tree to such an extent that they wrote an entire album about it.
Yeah, that's my dirty little secret, I guess.
Sorry, maybe I shouldn't have put that on the pod.
I take a lot of shit for, yeah, you know, I grew up with U2. What do you want from me? I'm an 80s kid.
I will try not to contribute to the shit given to you about that.
Anyone who says U2 sucks, I'm like, go listen to Achtung Baby. Come on. Grow up.
Baby is a good album.
It's a great album.
I don't know, it's a great album. It's a good album.
All right.
Sorry, didn't mean to turn that into a little bit of a.
I've defended them from harder fighters than you, man.
All right. Well, I'm going to put some of my musical tastes out here for my second pick. And I have taken a lot of solace probably in the last 6 or 7 years with a French band called L'Imperatrice. And I can only describe them as like French neo-disco. And their whole vibe is, their whole vibe is like soft punk. And French lyrics and sort of like wistful romance. A little bit kind of, I don't know, Belle and Sebastian-y, a little bit like, I don't know.
I could really give my Duolingo a workout on this one. This is good.
Yeah. They're upbeat. Sometimes they're downbeat. They're always kind of quirky. They're very vintage. They're not terribly current. But I love their music. It gets heavy rotation on my playlist. And also what I would call impeccable vibes.
Yeah.
You know, in a very different place from Amyl and the Sniffers, but like to me, there's something incredibly soothing to this music that just, when I'm feeling stressed, helps me out. Their videos are fun too.
I look for good stuff to play. just like in bed when we're just laying
Yeah.
around, just something just mellow vibes based kind of stuff.
I would highly recommend.
I can see this fitting in just well.
Yeah.
It's fine. Oh yeah, I dig this.
There you go.
There we go. Something for everyone in this video.
Yeah, so that is my recommend. And I'm gonna put them on the list.
All right, so believe up next for me would be Letterkenny and Shoresy.
Yes, now I'm familiar with the first.
Yes.
I don't know the second, so you're gonna have to school me on.
All right, well,
on Shoresy. Oh well, we should probably talk about Letterkenny first because
one's a spin-off
I
of
love
the other.
Letterkenny.
Oh yeah,
I can totally talk about that all day. But I don't know a thing about Shoresy.
Yeah, Letterkenny, for the uninitiated, it takes place in a made-up, small rural Ontario town of Letterkenny, and it follows. It's very. It's almost like a 12-season long sketch. Yeah, there's a set of sketches where you just have. I lost you.
I crashed.
Oh crap!
But I think I'm back. And
I can hear you.
We're still recording. So hopefully, yeah, we might be able to edit that out. Or we may not care unless you said something really embarrassing. Yes, we're talking about Letterkenny, quirky Canadian Hicksville comedy.
It says aggressively Canadian, as Amyl and the Sniffers are aggressively Australian. You'll have to, we started watching it with subtitles on because they talk quick. They're very fast-paced banter and do a lot of wordplay. But yeah, it follows 3 groups of Letterkenny citizens: the Hicks, as you see from the thumbnail there; Skids, the druggy EDM people, gothy EDM people, and
there's the hockey boys. What are they called?
Yeah, the hockey players, the jocks. Yeah, and their encounters with each other, their own little adventures, and every episode is, the little storylines going on for each little group. Usually nothing, spills out past, that episode. Everything kind of wraps up there.
Yeah.
But it's just
Hicks, Skids, hockey players, and Christians. That's right. You got to have the priest in there.
Oh yeah,
a couple hockey players come up the produce stand the other day.
This is one of the best. This is the hockey players. Here we go. And they're somehow both dating his sister.
Still
Yeah.
Wayne,
How are you now?
good, and you?
Not so bad.
Hey, Katie.
Go home, Daryl.
And Katie, who's
Nice onesie.
amazing.
Coming men.
Oh, I think you come in men enough for all of us.
I think you better come in my. You better come up.
I think you better come say that to his face, you fucking Hicks.
Nice execution.
You're doing terrific.
Hey, I heard about your breakup, buddy.
She's a sweetie for what, 5 years, right?
You're a high school sweetie, right?
What's it to you?
Heard she cheated on you, buddy.
That's real.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good times. Highly recommended. Hit me on Shoresy.
Okay, so Shoresy is a spin-off from Letterkenny. Came out, I think they're just finished their 3rd season. It is the character of Shoresy was one of the hockey players on the show. There's a minor league team in town, the Letterkenny Irish. He was one of their players. You never saw his face because he's played by Jared Kiso, who is one of the main characters under the guy on the left on the thumbnail. You would only ever see him with his back turned or talking from inside a bathroom stall. And just constantly chirping at every other, just riding everyone else's ass, making fun of them. He was just, the foulest mouthed character on the show. And they spun him off into his own show where he gets his contract or whatever gets sold to a team in Sudbury, the Blueberry Bulldogs. And he goes on. He goes.
Is that him?
Yeah. That's him in the
Okay.
middle.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And he goes down to Sudbury to play for this team. They're the worst team in their league, and they're in danger of being shut down. The owner's going to fold the team, and he promises that if they don't fold the team, then he'll make sure they never lose again. And proceeds to he rounds up a crew of just Neanderthals and all these bizarro, just one bizarre character after another, but all of them are just hilarious characters. And one aspect in both of these shows is how real the world around them feels.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in Letterkenny, it feels like a real place. You see all these, these bars and places they hang out in. Has a very lived-in sense of place. Letterkenny Shoresy kind of goes a step further. They're showing real places in Sudbury, but they really make it part of the show. It has a very, a big sense of place. It feels Canadian, for lack of a better word. But he just surrounds himself with these hilarious characters. A lot of them are real former hockey players who are decent actors, funny as shit. And I've described Shoresy as somehow the anti-Ted Lasso, because it's this terrible team and he shows up and he's going to get them back on track, but it's the anti-Ted Lasso because it's, it's extremely foul-mouthed. It's not, he's just, how do I put it? It's very cynical, but at the same time somehow arrives at the same kind of feel-good conclusion when he does turn the team around, even though he's turning the team around by bringing in just fighters to just beat the shit out of the other team.
The slap shot technique.
Exactly. Somebody told me it's yeah, slap shot walked so Shoresy could run.
Yeah.
And it's true. There is definitely a slap shot feel to it, but it really stands on its own. It's somehow feel good and still cynically hilarious. And either one of those, Shoresy is really more episodic than Letterkenny was. There is a storyline that, kind of plays out as the team advances through their leagues. But, whereas Letterkenny, you could pretty much drop into any episode and enjoy it. But Shoresy's one, you put on the first episode and you'll want to watch the whole series in one sitting. You will if you don't stop yourself. It's that addictive.
Nice. Yes, I am going to check it out. I love Letterkenny.
You can't not love Shoresy. It's great, and it's a real step outside the formula of Letterkenny, which everything is very self-contained and it's a joke a minute kind of show. And Shoresy, it's a joke a minute show too, but it also has this real through line of this team and kind of what they mean to the community and how important that is. There's a through line to that in Letterkenny too. It's very important, that there's this community, and no matter what differences these guys have with each other, these groups have with each other, they always line up to defend each other from bad actors outside the community, the upcountry degens or the Quebecois, whoever the enemy is in the current storyline.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That picture is amazing. Just so much attitude.
Oh God. Yeah. Amazing bunch of guys.
All right. Excuse me. Moving on. I guess my next pick, I'm finally gonna subject you to talking about video games. Sorry about this. But But I get a lot of peace from a quirky little puzzle game called Dorfromantik, which is it's almost a board game, solo like solitaire board game, constructing dumb little landscapes from tiles. So you're given these tiles
From a deck of
and
tiles, which you can place almost.
every tile has like houses and villages and trees and rivers and whatever, and you just gotta place the tile so like as much sides can match as possible.
Okay.
This game is zen as fuck.
Mm.
Hold a game, you might as well call it like a brain exercise. You can drink a beer, play this for hours, make gorgeous little like animated landscapes, and if there's a goal in it, it's like every so often you have like a little hidden tile like out in the boonies that you're trying to get to.
Okay.
As stressful as this game gets. And I don't have much more to say about it than that. I think maybe the appeal is probably pretty obvious. It's not really a narrative game, which maybe means it doesn't quite fall into like the hand wavy criteria of kind of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But Christ, when I'm stressed, this is literally like manna.
I get it.
It's just like woof, like the cares of the day can slip away. You can zone out, or you can get like really into it. It's kind of better if you're zoning out, maybe. And it's also just kind of like gorgeous.
It's nice when you have a game that you can adapt to whatever level of participation you really want to have at the moment. You know, if you want to zone out,
Yeah,
you can just leave your brain on autopilot and play. If you want to get in deep, you can do that too. It's always good to have a game like that in your library. Yeah, I'm down with that. I'd check that out.
sure. It tends to be pretty cheap, like $5 to $10 on Steam.
It's a Steam game.
Yeah, it's a PC game. There's probably an app version of it too if you want to do it on your iPad. Or I don't think it's on the phone yet.
I'll probably have to wait until a PlayStation port comes out.
I can guarantee
PC game.
it's on PlayStation.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
All right. I think you're gonna hit us with your show next. Another show?
Another sitcom for me. So this will probably be a controversial pick, especially amongst my ACAB buddies, punk buddies. But Brooklyn Nine-Nine. This is like what I like to call aspirational fantasy. Brooklyn Nine-Nine envisions a world where the cops don't shoot anybody. The captain is Andre Braugher. All the cops are good looking. Never shoot anyone. Are smart. Always get their man. It's complete fantasy. But somehow it doesn't feel like propaganda the way a Law and Order does. Maybe just because you watch it and you're like, yeah, this is clearly fantastical. Nothing about this feels
it's
real.
a rare cop show that isn't fantastical.
No, and there's, I mean, they get into like, well, here's their case they're working on, but at least 50% of the show is just them talking about at the station. It reminds me of like Barney Miller, which I used to watch reruns of that when I was a kid, and yeah, it feels very of a part with that. It's just cozy, everybody on it's very funny. Andre Braugher, R.I.P. One of the best ever is their Captain Holt, who's just a fantastic character. I'm a big fan of the Lonely Island guys, so they're kind of right in my wheelhouse. I love all their albums. Love when Andy Samberg used to be, the stuff he used to do on Saturday Night Live. So I'm a big fan of everybody on there. Joe Latrulio from the State, love that guy too.
Yes.
And it's just. It's another one where you could watch any episode, just pull it out of order. It'll probably be pretty funny and you won't have to think too hard. And when you're done, you turn it off. So I know it's probably propaganda. I don't care. It's kind of fun. It's funny, and it's not, Law and Order. It's an easy breezy time.
I have seen a lot of clips from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've never watched a show.
Yeah.
And I mean, Andy Samberg is legit funny. There's no real reason why I haven't watched a show, except that like comedy cop procedural, like for me, probably peaked with Reno 911. So like,
yeah, no, I hear that.
This just kind of came after that, and I was just like, okay, I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
Like you like they actually solve cases. Like is there, like storyline and
I told you it's fantasy.
It's like starting off and okay.
Yeah. They almost always get their guy by the end of the episode. There's a Law and Ordery kind of trope to that, but it's the characters that are fantastic. I mean, and Andre Braugher was holy. I mean, I'd seen him in a million things. I'd never seen him do comedy. He was so freaking funny on this show. Just the ultimate straight man. Just this scary. He's got that voice. He's just monotone but saying the funniest shit you've ever heard. Yeah,
nice.
Terry Crews, also hilarious.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna put my first podcast on the list, and I think this is a podcast that you probably listen to, and it is I don't really have a good thumbnail of it. It's the Film Drunk Frotcast.
Oh, okay.
With Matt Lieb and Vince Mancini. And Matt Lieb is a comedian. Vince Mancini is a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And to some extent, a little bit of an inspiration for me to pitch to you to do this, although I don't think I can achieve. I mean, like ostensibly they're talking about like a movie every week.
Yeah.
But really they're just farting off at each other. And they're both hilarious. And and there is something I think about like a really funny podcast of like amiable guys that like you want to listen to them every week, and like you sit down and it's like meeting your buddies, maybe a little bit like going to Cheers, and like just being a dad and having to do a certain amount of commuting around town. Man, this is almost always like it's easier to get in the car and sit in traffic for half an hour if you're like, oh, this is a new Frotcast.
Yeah.
You've listened to some of these?
I haven't listened to Frotcast. I'm a big fan of Matt Lieb, though. In fact, I know he has another Pod Yourself a Gun.
Yeah, he's got a couple. It's no longer Pod Yourself a Gun.
No, I know.
He went through a whole bunch of series.
Yeah,
now
I went through The Wire, but I just picked up. I kind of subscribe now because he's doing Mad Men, which is one of my favorite shows ever.
Yes, I've started listening to that.
I listened to it. His coverage of the pilot was pretty funny. I'm a big fan of Matt Lieb. I'm actually he produces another podcast I listen to, Free with Ads, where it's him and Emily Fleming and Jordan, what's his nuts? The guy. Anyway, they're from Mythical, Good Mythical Morning. They're all on that, all three of them, and it's an offshoot of that. But it's every week they review a different movie that's currently playing free with ads on some dodgy website. I'm actually seeing them at SF Sketchfest next month.
Nice.
I'm excited about that. But yeah, that Frotcast is the one thing he's done that I haven't listened to. I think that's kind of his flagship show. So
it's also the least. I think it's the least directed. It's literally just the two of them farting off around each other, which I think is why I like it. Like, I never know what to expect. It's pretty companionable. Theoretically they're talking about a movie. Maybe they'll get to it, maybe they won't. They usually have funny guests, all their comedian friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that the Matt Lieb Podsphere in general is very enjoyable. And this actually may not be the best recommend of where to start with him, but it's certainly a comfort listen for me.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, let's see. What do you got next on your list? Oh, this one's a left field one for me. Let me find a thumb.
This is one I came across on accident, pretty much. Just flipping through stuff to watch. I got a I'll set it up. I've been a big
Boom.
Jeopardy. Yeah.
There we go. I did not realize Stephen Fry hosted it till
Jeopardy
I got the
UK.
thumbnail right now.
It's on some channel in England. I don't know. Apparently, I figured that at this point, 40 years or whatever into the most recent version of Jeopardy, that they just franchised it everywhere. They didn't have it in England until now. So yeah, Stephen Fry's hosting. It's an hour long, and at first, because they have one extra single Jeopardy round, and I'm still thinking that seems like a long time with an hour with commercials. It's because they basically let Stephen Fry just cook on every answer. Like it is very leisurely based. It is not like the American Jeopardy one. It's very leisurely. If people don't get it wrong, he's very almost apologetic about it. He's like, and then explains every answer, whether it's needed or not. There's in the very first episode, there was a daily double, and the answer was like a music category, and the answer was Kendrick Lamar. Nobody got,
what did Stephen Fry have to say about Kendrick Lamar? That's pretty interesting.
Stephen Fry goes, it adds on to the answer just with my husband introduced me to him. He's quite good. he's really quite good. He is. I'm a big Jeopardy fan anyway. I've been watching, since it came back with Trebek back in the early 80s. And it is such a nice little change of pace from that. It's so freaking delightful. You'll die. It is so freaking funny.
All right. I would not have thought. I'll give it a shot. I mean, I was never into Jeopardy, and I never had family members that were Jeopardy watchers. I love Stephen Fry and Deebs and Worcester, and like his legacy of great comedy. And he is a master of that intersection of nerdy and hilarious.
Yep.
Sort of way before nerd and hilarity kind of married in the aughts, but
it is.
Yeah.
If all you have to do is imagine what it would be like if Stephen Fry hosted Jeopardy. It's that. There's no surprises. It is just pure unfiltered Stephen Fry. It is glorious.
All right. Well, my next pick is a movie, a classic movie. I'm a white middle-aged guy. It's a gangster movie. But it's not the usual gangster movies that white middle-aged guys tend to like. And this is
from the makers of Blood Simple and Raising Arizona.
Oh, this is your comfort movie? Oh my
This is my comfort movie. I love this movie so much. When I was struggling with depression, full time, I would watch this once a month.
Casper,
and it's just cigar chomping, lyrical tough guys that's told by the Coen brothers with a lot of wink wink, making fun of them and making fun of the genre while trying to tell a fun hard-boiled story.
Yeah.
You've seen this, right?
I saw it when it came out, which was this 89, 90, something like that?
Yeah, mid-90s.
When I was way too young to watch it. This is another another one. My dad was like, "Oh, watch this, you'll like it."
Oh,
okay. Sure, Dad. I'm 12. But I remember liking it. I think I've tried to rewatch it since, and I had a hard time getting into it. I know I remember it's great. I just need to sit down and watch it one of these days. And it's almost like I've kind of erased it from my memory a little bit, just because it's been so long.
I don't know what about this movie like became a comfort for me. I mean, it is remarkably comedic. It's and yet still a little grizzled and hard boiled, and that's maybe just an entrancing mixture. Like that must be hard to pull off. And honestly, Coen Brothers are the guys that do it. And we opened with Lebowski, which was very much like the quintessential comedy noir, hijinks pastiche. And Miller's Crossing, I think, is a little bit of their like sophomore effort trying to get to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not without its flaws, but it just, I don't know, it just has all the tropes with a lot of fun along the way. I didn't really sort of like sit down and think, why do I like this? I just know that for a time in my life, this was a pretty meaningful movie for me to watch like again and again.
No, yeah. I mean, I know this is on a lot of people's, like, a lot of Coen Brother fans, like, top of their Coen Brother list, that they think this is probably the best they ever did. But yeah, that's one. It's on my list to rewatch. Yeah, I just get around to that eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, this pick is a little bit in the like, if you know kind of category amongst maybe Coen Brothers fans, and everyone else is just like, okay, and that's fine.
Yeah. All right. So I have kind of a catch-all for my next one. I'm not sure how you're going to thumbnail
I'm not
this.
sure how to thumbnail this. Yeah.
But I subscribe to a bunch of like science and history kind of YouTube channels. And I just, it's a great thing to put on. I've been kind of educating myself when I have nothing better to do. If don't have a movie I want to watch or whatever, I'm sitting around by myself, I will pull up one of these channels. People like Joe Scott, who does a lot of does kind of science explainer kind of YouTube shows. He'll do Q&A episodes where he answers questions from his Patreon, tries to kind of research answers for them. He's a really good explainer. He can, he may cover territory that's well trod, but he does a good job of explaining it. Milo Rossi, also known as Mini Minuteman, who is does a lot of archaeology. That's one of his specialties, is archaeology video. I think he's an archaeologist by training. And one of the big things he does is debunking terrible TikTok videos about history, things like ancient astronauts, pyramid power bullshit.
Yeah,
he just goes off on it, and he's a young guy. He's clearly very Zoomer pill kind of guy. He's hilarious when he goes in deep on these kind of I mean, it's funny just when he's going after these guys like Graham Hancock or Philip Zeba. But he also leavens that with actual real good educational videos. He has like a whole series where he's touring the Southwest on his motorcycle and talking about different areas as he goes. It's really good. If you're into archaeology and history, he gets into some very interesting stuff. What else? Alternate History Hub is a good one. It's this guy Cody. You never see him. He just makes up crazy alternate history kind of scenarios and plays them out. And he occasionally, will kind of critique guys like Harry Turtledove, these alternate history people, and get into like some of their crazier ideas. And a lot of it is kind of war history. It's very it's very much for dads. I'm not a dad. It's like, well, what if the Nazis did this in World War? There's a lot of that going on in it. What if China did? So if you're into that kind of thing, it's very good. One my wife and I've recently really gotten into is a scientist named Lindsay Nicole, who is a zoologist. And she's also very funny. She does a lot of stuff about like paleozoology, dinosaurs, that whole, any kind of 65 million year old animals. And it also talks a lot about, modern animals and things like, here are like some toads I think you will like. And it just runs down like, here's a bunch of funny toads. Yeah, but there's real good science behind it. Like she knows her stuff. Her whole thing is, her catchphrase is, she's talking about like some dinosaur. Well, this is the, largest marine reptile that we know about. It couches everything, and like, everything could change by the time this is published. And just very, it kind of has a range of like some episodes are 10 minutes long. Some are, she goes in depth for an hour or two. If she gets into things talking about the great dying or something like that, she can get very in depth. But it's, there a lot of these are all kind of nice, either quick hits or something more in depth. You can find something in all of these different channels for whatever your mood is, and you'll pick up something interesting from it.
Cool. Yeah, I can't say I'm familiar with any of these. I feel like maybe I've seen a Mini Minute Man clip on occasion.
Yeah.
But my kids love History YouTube. And there's a whole bunch of like kid-oriented history YouTubes that retell famous stuff with stick figures and quirky Zimmer language. All of these, with the exception of probably Joe Scott, definitely adult oriented. Not for kids, which is fine. Yeah, language, especially Mini Minute Man. He really gets into it. You'll let the F-bombs fly. I did really get into Dan Carlin for a while. Yeah, hardcore history guy. Yeah. Like that's and I suspect if I'd stuck with him, I might have ended up here. Yeah, he's awesome, and I've always meant to kind of go back and listen to him, but he pulls all the stuff offline and then put it on a pay site, and I'm too cheap. Oh, really? Yeah. So someday, perhaps. All right. What do I have next? What I have next, not a show, not a game. It's an album. Oh, did I cut you off? Nope. Okay. It's not just an album. It is a mixtape. It's a mixtape by the artist Jens Lenkman. And what he did is he remixed a bunch of music into 3/4 time. It's an entire album of quirky songs that he loves that he returned into waltzes, essentially. And I would say that this album is sublimely beautiful. I'm sorry? I would say this album is sublimely but it's also really interesting and fascinating. It's like he's pulling music from like all over history and kind of across cultures, and he just blends into like one long album that is all in 3/4 time. Okay. When the original songs weren't supposed to be. Right. Oh, that's interesting. It is, and it became like this favorite album that I just started listening to that nobody had ever heard of. That I guess he did this in 2010. And yeah, I would just I put it on when I'm cooking dinner, and it feels right. And I just want more people to listen to this album. It's really good. Yeah, that sounds like it might be good, like laying around kind of music. Yeah, I my musical taste when I'm looking for soothing lean towards these mellow vibe stuff. I'm I'm not above maybe rocking out to Amyl and the Sniffers when I'm feeling pretty angry, but like if I'm looking for peace and serenity, I do think I lean all like vintage pop and soupy kind of like melody and neo jazz kind of stuff.
It's funny, like angry punk music kind of is my comfort music.
It is for a lot of people.
I'm
and
not sure why.
yeah,
Like, I mean, the day after the election, that was what I put. I like, you know, I put on Clash. I put I put on Buzzcocks. That's what I want. Like hearing other people angry. It's like, oh yeah, okay, it's good to feel this way. It's good and natural, and and everyone should do it.
yeah, I can access that,
state.
but
Yeah. But yeah, that's like when it's like I need, you know, when I have a need to listen to music, when I have, you know, it's like I need to get out of my head. That's kind of what I reach for. It's just, you know, angry, sneering oi guys.
yeah. I don't have any angry, sneering oi guys on my comfort media list, which I'm a little sad about. Like
Well, it's what comforts you. It's not,
well,
you know.
I'm sad about it because I think accessing my anger has always been a little bit challenging to me, and like I could do more of it in healthy, constructive ways. And listening to music is a very healthy, constructive way to process anger and frustration. So I don't know, touch of self judgment there. But tell me about your next. I think I've got it queued up here. This
is when I may be in my cups, depending on what's in that cup. You know, I like a little video ASMR.
Yep.
And what I discovered that is just fantastic, wood turning videos. These are this is
I think I get it. In fact, I've paused on numerous lathing and wood turning videos on it is incredibly powerful to watch a beautiful thing get made. But I'm interrupting you. Yeah, tell me.
There's a kind of a form. This one, Jack Mac wood turning, is probably one of my favorites. The format of all of these, even different channels, is like a thumbnail that just shows a big piece of unfinished wood. Here's a 20-pound oak burl, and no idea of what it's going to be, and you just sit and watch, and you there's no music, there's generally no talking. It's just the grind of this guy, you know, grinding out these things on his lathe, and eventually it turns into something beautiful at the end. And you know, some of them are 5 minutes long. I've seen ones where it's like a half hour, and it's really soothing to watch these things. Like it, you know, if you're in a certain possibly chemically induced state, it can be just the most beautiful, you know, just bliss out and watch him make a bowl.
I totally get it.
Watch him make a lamp. It's just, it's so nice.
Now, have you ever thought about turning to carpentry?
Well, you know, it's funny. My uncle is a big woodworker, and I've kind of made like, if you ever do stuff like this, let me know. I've sent him some of these videos, and he's totally blown away by them. He may have a lathe. He's got a really good setup. But yeah, it's, you know, my grandfather, his father kind of got him into it. He was a big woodworker, did carpentry, did repairs, and it's in my blood. I just haven't done it, but I sure love watching it, man. It's neat to watch. But yeah, that's something I could see getting into, except, you know, it's probably hideously expensive and time consuming and messy.
Definitely messy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
You need
there's
a
part of-
workshop for this kind of stuff. You don't want to do this in your garage.
Yeah, you need the space. There are like communal like wood workshops that you can usually rent to, I think, to some extent. I don't know, like I love appreciating this and watching this stuff, and then I get hit with a weird like emasculating guilt where it's just like I'm just not man enough to like be like this cool to make such gorgeous things out of wood with my hands, you know. And that's a kind of an embarrassing thing to admit, because this is probably fairly accessible if you like really put your mind to it, and it probably is really good for your soul to make beautiful things, you know. We have a friend, Scott Moore, who's, you know, got a forge, and I don't, you know, he's making fun little dinky stupid, you know, coat hangers or coat hooks and bottle openers and stuff. Nothing like terribly impressive, but it clearly brings him like so much peace and oh gosh, did the bulb break? Or maybe that's probably on purpose.
He's probably did on
himself.
purpose.
Yeah. So I get it, man. I get it, and I'm glad that you don't feel the weird guilt.
No, I mean part of it isn't just, you know, him, you know, his skill. A lot of it is just the vision, you know, where he can take a piece of wood and, you know, and see what he wants to make out of it. How, you know, how he goes about that is really impressive. You know, it's not just the technique, it's the vision of, you know, seeing a big chunk of ugly wood and visualizing the thing in it. You know, it's like you know, I took a column of marble and cut out everything that wasn't David. Yeah. Yeah, that's the part I feel like, you know, you could learn how to, you know, turn wood, but you know, the artistry and the vision, that's something, I don't know how you train that. And the finished pieces he comes up with are just beautiful. I've kind of got, you know, I got a Jones to buy some of this stuff. I think he's in England, so I'm sure and I've seen some of the prices for some of it. It's expensive. He's not for I don't know if he's a beginner entry level you know, woodworking guy to purchase from, but yeah, some of the stuff is just beautiful.
Yeah,
Love
that's gotta be a little bit of an artist's journey of like, you make a YouTube channel around the craft, and then your work maybe really jumps up in price. It's probably a decent way to get to prodom. All right, I think we've got 6 items each here. I think we were shooting for 8. And my next thing is more video games. Sorry, Max. I
play video games too.
I know. These video games, maybe you've played them, and they are video games that are almost movies. And they're really, really fun. And I'm talking about the Uncharted series. Have you played these?
I tried. It's just they look amazing. There's something about the setup. I just can't handle it in my brain.
Yeah, I mean, they are very linear. They're essentially like you're playing like Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah,
is the way I would describe it. Like it's always just like traveling to exotic locales, solving silly little puzzles, mowing down absolute massives of like the evil mercenaries, and like there's always like a touch of magic, but not like a lot. But they were sort of revolutionary in some of their set piece making and some of their like action sequences. And they're not open world. They're not sandboxy. These are very much like you just got to work Nathan Drake through the thing, through the sequence of events that the game wants you to work them through. And I know that kind of can be a struggle for a lot of gamers sometimes. And
I don't mind an on rails kind of game.
Yeah, it's pretty railsy, but it is just such childlike adventure in so many ways. And the first one is is fun, but it wasn't great. And if that was your introduction to Uncharted series and Nathan Drake, I think it was frustrating for a lot of people. The second one was absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah,
and kind of broke the mold, and that's the one with like I think we saw kind of like the train clip. Well, I'm not gonna scrub through this. But
I know they recreated a bunch of things for that terrible movie they did with.
they did do a terrible movie, which.
But I recognize some of the shots from that, the train, the climbing around on the boxes, it's falling out of the plane, and
I would say one of the cool things that the games do is they play with linearity a fair bit. Like you do a little bit of jumping back and forward and sort of time in his story. Like they're actually surprisingly well written by most of them are written by a really interesting woman. I forget what her name is, but she's a game designer. And yeah, they're charming, exciting action stories. And Nathan Drake is a charming mass murderer. Like he's got all these wonderful quips as he's cheerfully, frustrated at having to mow down thousands of mercenaries on his way to find a magic item to save the world. And this just straddles the cinematic game experience to me, where it is like you settle down, you're kind of like watching a movie, and yet you're also kind of playing it as along with it, and it's just like I don't know. I love these games. They're very comfortable for me. Whenever a new one came out, I felt like a kid at Christmas. I was like, I just can't wait to do this story. I can't wait to get the new magic item that Nathan Drake is going to go after. And they finally did make a slightly sandboxy version of the game, starring it was kind of an offshoot. Oh God, and I'm not prepared, so I don't remember the name of it. But it stars sort of like his ex-girlfriend and this ex-mercenary that he fought once, and that one's pretty good too. And I'll post the thumbnail when I think of it. Okay. But yes, I love the Uncharted games. They're very comfort foody to me, and that is my 7th pick.
My taste in video games tends to run more to like JRPGs, where it's I can, especially like any kind of turn-based combat, where I can sit and think about what I'm going to do and give me some time. Action games, I don't know, I feel like I may have aged out of them. Like I didn't work that muscle for so long, and now I think I've completely lost it. Like I was heavily into like the God of War games on the old PlayStation systems, 1 through 3. Loved those games, played the hell out of them. Got to the new one for, I guess that was PlayStation 4, after not really gaming much for a few years, and just like could not get out of the tutorial fight. Literally,
oh, no.
That first fight where Loki or somebody shows up, and I just died over and over, and I'm like, this is apparently not me anymore.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah, that sucks, dude. I'm sorry. That happens, I think, to all of us to some extent, where we think, we just the game skill there's a little bit of a too high of a threshold. I feel like a lot of games now do offer some really nice difficulty controls. But the Uncharted games did lean a little difficult, I think, and maybe that makes them a little bit inaccessible to non-gamers. The fun little sandbox starring like the women is called Uncharted Lost Legacy. I do remember that. But yes, great games. Highly recommend them if you've always been curious and wanted to try them and want to do it.
I feel like it's one of those games I'd like to watch somebody play.
Yeah. Well, you can do that on the internet. You can actually watch people play video games.
Oh, I know. Can and have.
Yes.
But yeah, it's I see myself cursing a lot while playing. So I'm not sure how comfortable they'd be for me. But I've been getting a lot of mileage out of Sea of Stars, like kind of knockoff, not actually Japanese JRPG game. That's a lot of fun. They just put out a huge new, like free expansion for it. I've been playing through that.
Sea of Stars is freaking gorgeous. I mean, it is like they tried to remake Chrono Trigger, and they may have surpassed it. That might be a dangerous thing to say. But that I am not a huge JRPGer, but man, Chrono Trigger, one of my favorite games from my childhood, and I have not managed to finish Sea of Stars. I will someday. JRPGs are a time investment. I think that might be why I like becoming a dad turned me into a filthy casual, where it was like, oh, I only have like 2 hours of like disposable time a week. I guess I'm no longer losing myself in a video game. I guess I'm looking for a game I can play for an hour and get into, and then like drop, and then like pick up a bunch of days later and sort of remember what I was doing.
Yeah.
Oof.
All right, so I got a podcast. This is one I've been. This was a day one first episode. I heard it was coming out. Had to have it. It's 16th Minute of Fame with Jamie Loftus.
Oh, Jamie Loftus is great.
It's podcast.
She's done so much good stuff.
She's guested on virtually every show I listen to. She's just hilarious. She is researching and interviewing people who had moments of viral fame, and what happens to them. How did that happen to them, and what has happened to them since then, since they kind of faded into obscurity. She's interviewed the first episode was the Hide Your Kids, Hide Your Wife.
Awesome.
She's interviewed Ken Bone.
When was she doing this? I listen to a lot of Jamie Loftus, and I've never heard of this.
This is her current show. It's
I'm just behind the times.
It's been on for maybe a year. But it's amazing guests. She's had on, let's see, William Hung. All these people is like, names are like, oh my God, I remember them. What else? William Hung, Ken Bone. She's did a long episode about Kobayashi versus Joey Chestnut, because she's obsessed with hot dogs and Joey Chestnut. Left Shark. She talked to the Left Shark. It is great stuff. She's talked to the guy who used to do HQ Trivia about the moment that show had, and it's the 30 to 50 feral hogs guy. She's a really good interviewer. That's the amazing thing. It's like she's not just hilarious. She's like a really good interviewer.
And it's not just the interviewing. It's probably having like the finger on the pulse a little bit, and being just somebody who kind of like catches these people when they're going big, and maybe has the context to talk about it. Oh, I'm excited. This is 100% what I was hoping to get out of this show. It's like a recommend that like is like smack dab in my wheelhouse. I love Jamie Loftus. She's like one half of the Bechdel Cast, which is a great feminist movie podcast. She did a really interesting series on Lolita. She's done a ton of great and actually I saw her in LA at a really cool comedy show once. It was a friend of hers got a bunch of comedians together, and they did the entire first episode of not 30 Rock. What was the really bad Aaron Sorkin Saturday Night Live pastiche?
Oh yeah, it was Studio
on the Sunset Strip or whatever.
God,
it was just comedians redoing that skit, redoing that like episode, and it was just it had me on the floor. It was so funny, and she was in it. Jamie Loftus is great. I'm so excited to check out 16th Minute of Fame.
Oh, you'll love it.
It's
really an interesting kind of sociological, in addition to being pretty funny, it's a good, interesting sociological study of, what happens to people who are not seeking fame and just have it thrust on you. Like that's pretty much the through line in all these, and how there's always this moment. It's like, do I capitalize on this or not? And what happens to the people like William Hung, who's like, yeah, I'm going to put out an album or two. It's like how they try to extend that 15 minutes, or whether they just walk away. People like the 30 to 50 Feral Hogs guy didn't really want to be famous. He was wanted to get this issue out there in front of people, and but it's a great show. I think you'll really dig it. And if anybody watching this, Jamie Loftus, she's a goddess. Please,
yes,
tune into anything she does. I'm anxious for her special that's going to be coming out soon. I think she just shot down in LA. All right, what else you got for me?
Well, yeah, so we got 7 things on my list. We're down to our final picks. And my final pick is not necessarily something that everybody can enjoy, but it's something that's brought me a great deal of peace in the last year. And it's something actually I've loved my whole life. And that is running Dungeons and Dragons.
Hey,
and I am a total nerd. I'm a forever DM. I am living my best life probably right now in my mid 40s here. I'm in the middle of 4 D&D campaigns with various groups, 2 of which I'm DMing. And if there's anything that's keeping me fucking sane in 2024, it's the fact that I get to hang out with a couple of different really fun groups of people, well-vetted groups of just fun, loving, lovely people, and go on adventures several times a week. It is always in the back, it's always in the back of my mind, little adventures that we're having. So it's this wonderful background music to my life of just fantastical adventures, but more than that, rolling dice with cool people. And it's wonderful because it can both be this thing that you can get incredibly obsessed about and get into the minutia and really whatever, or you can totally beer and pretzels, shits and giggles it, show up. I forgot what's going on. I don't know. I don't care. We're here. Let's have fun. And that's really powerful, frankly. And I've had a long running campaign. It's ostensibly the Age of Worms. That's a campaign written for the Pathfinder. These are the characters who've been playing in it. We're sort of on a break right now. But there's just a lot of fun shit going on. I love it. I know you play D&D, but maybe not as much. I hope it occupies a similar love in your life.
When I know what you mean, but when have been playing it, and I've just gotten back into it. I'm about 3 or 4 sessions into a remote game I've been playing with my cousin's husband, and it's like the Tetris thing where you start thinking about it while you sleep. Or even just what feat am I going to pick up next level? You start kind of gears turning in your mind that aren't always moving. But it's one of those things. It's enriched my life in countless ways over decades. Even when I haven't played it much, I'm one of those people who would buy every book even though I wasn't playing it.
Here. Well,
it's I'm that guy, but it's especially the newest edition I've been reading through, and it's really kind of got me wanting to run a game again. So
5.5.
Had that itch in a while, and it's I could see doing this. I've got ideas in my head for campaigns, and I just got to sit down and write something. But that's always the hard part. Is that's a great thing about just playing. I can just show up with a bag of dice and start playing. If you want to be a DM and you want to be any good, you really got to do a lot of planning. And I find it's hard day of work. It's just not front and center for me, But in the meantime, it's loving playing.
Yeah, DM prep. I'm so used to it now at this point that I can kind of bullshit it most of the time. And I think I've gotten pretty good at like figuring out how to do just the DM prep that is fun for me to do, and ignoring and not caring about the stuff that's actually in any way kind of homeworky. I don't know. I feel a little bit bad kind of putting it on my list because I think this is supposed to be kind of a recommend of comfort media, but it's such a standout activity in my life that I don't think I can't not like mention it. And man, if anyone out there has wanted to play D&D and just hasn't figured out how to make it work in their life, and it doesn't have to be D&D. There's lots of great role-playing games out there that are not D&D, but D&D is probably one of the more accessible ones. Man, I just cannot recommend enough, like biting the bullet, finding a group, figuring out how to make it happen. Sometimes it could be a pain in the butt to find a good group. And so, and sometimes there's a lot of social anxiety and shit you got to get over. But a lot of people love to play it. It's hopefully not hard to find a group to do it with.
I mean, in terms of comfort media, I mean, how many times have you just been sitting around bored with nothing to do and you whip out the Dungeon Master's Guide and like, I'm just going to look through here for 5 minutes or, sitting on the can looking through magic item descriptions. That's comfort. That's comfort media right there. Like,
it feels great to be inspired. Like it's a dopamine IV drip of fun ideas, and then playing it is like you're looking through a menu of fun superpowers that you get to pretend you have. It's just delightful.
Yep.
So that's my 8th and final comfort media. Hit me with yours.
All right. So when things are bleak, when you're feeling down, when it feels like the whole world is falling down on you, which happens to me roughly weekly. If it's really bad, I will sit down and queue up the last act of Avengers Endgame. Pretty much, I've got it. I have it practically bookmarked. It's like the page is folded over. It's right when, Hulk snaps the Infinity Gauntlet that they kit bash together, snaps, and everything from then on, when Thanos just nukes the Avengers headquarters, right up through, Cap suddenly turning into Thor. It's like every couple of minutes, there is something that will make you cheer, just like you did in the movie theater. And don't, people at home, don't try to front like you didn't. I was there. I heard when Captain America is, when you hear in his radio, like on your left, and Falcon flies out, and everybody goes, "Bug fuck." Don't act like you didn't.
Yeah, the thrilling stuff. Man, I'm so glad that you are enthusiastic about this, because this is one of the things that I'm slightly worried about being too cool to like. And I really shouldn't. It is it's empowering, it's delightful, it's heroic.
It was engineered to fit right into a part of your brain.
Yeah.
The last act of that film. It's like if you finish watching that 45 minutes or whatever it is, it's like a hit of meth. It's just like, yes.
Do you think they're gonna be able to remake that magic?
I don't know.
With the new, what are we on? We're past the multiverse saga. What's the next saga?
Oh yeah, the old Doctor Doom thing. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I'm looking forward to Fantastic Four, because that's something I've always enjoyed, and they have never gotten right on screen. It's like, it should not be this hard. They somehow always fuck it up.
Are they setting it in the 60s? Because that would solve it. Okay, that probably is what it needs.
I mean, what I'm hearing is it's going to be a multiversal thing. It's going to take place in some other world, and where everything happened in 1961 or whatever.
Fun.
when it came out. So they're like a few years into their adventures, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Some
Is
amazing
John
cast.
Krasinski coming back as Mr. Fantastic?
No, oh, you really Pedro Pascal is Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, it's Eben Moss, what's his name from The Bear is going to be the Thing. Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things is Human Torch, and Vanessa Kirby is
I like her.
She's
great
it's
in the
amazing casting
in the Mission Impossibles and the Fast and the Furious movie.
Yep. Yep.
Man, I'm a little bit mixed on the MCU, but I definitely enjoyed the Avengers arc and the Infinity War arc, I should say. They swung big with a lot of risky stuff, time travel and I don't know, rehashing a bunch of the like older movie moments, killing off, spoiler alert, Iron Man, all that kind of stuff. I'd say they swung big, and then they did kind of knock it out of the park. What is it? The Russo brothers, like,
it's really
they can tell a good story.
That whole those 3 phases or whatever leading up to Endgame, and how many over at least it was like 15 movies or something like that, and the number of bangers that were in there. I mean, there was only really 1 or 2 films that didn't really click, but I mean they worked. They just weren't as good as the other ones. But it's really kind of it's their success rate since has been not quite as good, but everything leading up to that Endgame movie was just banger after banger, and then to wrap it up with that last 45 minutes, it's like it was like all of the time investment you put into those, the dozens of hours that you put into it, all pays off just amazingly. And it's a pure dopamine hit watching that part of that, the back half of that movie. It's just amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've been wondering if I'm due for a rewatch because
like,
I don't think I've seen them since they were in the theaters.
Like I've seen Endgame all the way through, I don't know, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But I've watched that last 45 minutes probably like 10 times.
Interesting.
It's like it's up there with like the Death Star trench run for me. It's like, I'm just gonna start at 60 miles an hour and gun it from there.
I will piggyback on this a little bit. I have been watching the new season of What If, and
I didn't know that was out yet.
Yes, it's season 2.
No,
and
season 3 is going to be coming out soon.
Right.
Okay,
I guess I'm finally catching up to season 2, and I
season 2
kind of felt like What If may be the best thing to come out of the MCU.
Pretty great.
But the second season, because it's December, they had a Christmas episode.
The Die Hard.
Happy Hogan was die-harding around the Avengers Tower.
Yeah, that's great.
And it delighted the hell out of me. It was so much fun. It was so dumb as a thing, and I was so delighted that they went with it.
Yeah.
And if you're in a Christmassy spirit, check out that What If episode. It's great.
The one with the episode with the Native Americans. Have you watched that?
I don't think I've gotten to that one yet.
Oh, that's a
good
piece
one.
of art. It's amazing, and they pretty much created a character I don't think has existed in like the comic books. Just this character out of whole cloth. It's really an amazing character. It's kind of like a bummer that the show is. I guess they're going to wrap up after the 3rd season, and I think her character is coming back for the 3rd season. But it's like, make a movie with this. This is great.
You never know. I mean, that's the thing about comics in general, and the MCU is they're just always digging into their own corpse. Like there's still juice in this rock. All right. Well, let's zoom out here at our list. Pretty rock solid, I think. When we post this on YouTube, we'll try to like make a little list of links down in the about for people to kind of poke through this stuff
Links in the
themselves.
show notes.
See if it brings any comfort to you. Maybe write some comments. Tell us what your comfort media is.
Yeah, I mean, I've picked up a bunch from your list there. So yeah, anything people got, I want to hear.
Love it. Cool, man. Yes, please, God, stay sane this December. The holidays are always stressful. 2025 is probably going to stress us all out. Like, hang in there. We're going to get through this together. You know, this is not advocating that you like turtle up and tune out, but if you need to, like, do that.
If you need to, here you go.
Yeah. But like, you know, to be happy in life, you gotta have some hope. And to be hope, you gotta listen to some stories that are hopeful.
Yep.
And sometimes you gotta listen to some stories that aren't so hopeful, and that helps you too. So yeah, I don't know. Find what you love and dig in.
I hear that.
That's my message, I think, here for this podcast. Next week we'll get back to maybe picking like a single topic and get chewy with it. I would love to have a whole topic, like a whole Scuttlebutt talking about D&D with you, if like we think there's maybe any interest from our audience on that.
Let us know in the comments, everyone.
Yeah, we'll see.
And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe.
Have we ever asked anyone to do that yet? Maybe now's the time.
Do it.
Okay.
Like and or subscribe.
Yes.
Don't forget to use the offer code.
And in 4 months, we might even notice that somebody likes and subscribed, and we'll have like a brief dopamine, like, ooh.
I monitor for comments and likes. I am that bad. I may have notifications turned on for that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well then, God damn it, yes, like and subscribe. Max has got to stay sane, please.
Please do. I need this. I have a lot riding on this, everybody.
Golden. All right. Well, much love to all those out there. If we don't get another episode out, have Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Sure.
Yes. Cool.
All right.
Are we out?
Not yet.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.